We just got back from outdoor ed, and while it was especially challenging this year, I've now realized it was actually a great learning experience. I came to this school in 8th grade, and the outdoor trip that year was to the Colorado River. This year as seniors, we went back to the Colorado River, and as many of you might have heard, the experience was filled with very challenging weather conditions. This was mainly from high winds that made it really hard for us to canoe on the river. There were lots of difficulties, some canoes filled with water, some things ended up wet, and we had to swim back to shore. But the students and teachers all pulled together and ended up safely enjoying the rest of the trip at camp. So I ended my outdoor ed experience on the same trip I had started on 5 years ago. We overcame some adversity, and it was still very fun in the end. This experience also reminded me of another challenging trip I went on to celebrate my 18th birthday this summer. I went hiking with my Boy Scout troop, and it was the last hike I went on since I would soon graduate as an Eagle Scout. This particular hike took place to Mount San Jacinto, which is the second highest peak in Southern California. And as usual, we took a bus to the trailhead near the town of Idlewild. When we started hiking, we realized the full force of the heat there. It turned out to be around 108 degrees. There was no shade at all, so the younger scouts around me started begging for very frequent water breaks because of the heat. So every 10 minutes we had to take breaks, but then the other problem of water supply surfaced because several people started to run out of water they had packed for themselves. The next morning, we had a goal to hike to the mountain peak at over 11,500 feet in elevation. We woke everyone up early at 5 a.m., immediately packed our stuff, and started on the trail towards the top. It was already warm, but everything was going smooth for the most part. Soon, however, people started to run out of water, and we had to go off trail to search for some rivers that ran across the mountain. We found small amounts, barely enough to fill our bottles. When we got near the peak, I started feeling immense headaches and blurred vision. In the past, I had pretty bad altitude sickness, but it had not happened to me for the past few years. I kept on hiking since I really wanted to get to the peak for the last hike, but I had to sit down a couple times from worry of fainting. Finally, we were able to see the peak, so everyone walked on without me. As I started to walk towards the peak again, I began to get sick, and I couldn't help but I had to throw up. I couldn't go on, so I turned around to lower my altitude and began to feel better on the way down with everyone. When we got back to the bus, everyone was ecstatic to head back home. On the road back, we got some lunch at In-N-Out. When we got into the freeway, our bus broke down, and we had to pull over to the side and park on the shoulder. We began to get out of the bus and sat on the side of the freeway to wait for the bus driver to call the company and get a replacement bus for us and someone to tow the truck. We waited for 3 hours to find out the bus driver called his personal friend to tow the truck back instead of the company. We got fed up and called the company ourselves to get another bus, just to wait another 3 hours. While waiting for the bus, I sat in the bushes near the edge of the road while people came by to say, "Happy birthday, Paolo," in a semi-sarcastic tone. We eventually got to the bus and got home safely around 1 a.m. This was not the way I had hoped and planned to spend my 18th birthday. However, I now look at it and realize it wasn't all that bad. Same with the outdoor ed trip to the Colorado River this year. There were positive learning experiences. From this trip, I learned how to adapt to the experiences that will catch me off guard and to let stuff bother me less. I also realized that it was good to be there and help some of the younger scouts out during this very tough, hot weather hike. Also, being challenged to do some difficult activities and doing your best to conquer them can make other things seem much easier and doable. Now I don't know that I enjoyed the part where I got altitude sickness, but again, I realized I was able to make the decision to go to a lower altitude and solve the problem I was facing. So in the end, I realized that although this experience wasn't the best in my opinion, it made me appreciate the trip as a whole. By looking at it as a learning experience, both this trip and the outdoor ed experience to the Colorado River will be trips that I remember forever.